You all set? Okay, please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I don't know if anybody can hear me, but the video and sound went off.
these different organizations, and for some reason, which I'm not quite sure of, the town of Washington is not represented. Now, I know that you said that you did the pie eating, or the
Oh, yeah, that's the
pie,
best part.
yeah, you got the good job, but they're not part of it. And I don't really understand that, because I think at the very least, the town rec should have
Do you-
representation.
And I did have a table there, I was represented there, I was in front of the foreign building.
Yeah,
Right, but not on the, you're not on the committee. So I think there should be, like, it seems strange to me, I just would think that it would be nice to have the town part of the community day committee. Certainly not mandatory, but it just seems like an omission. The fire department, and I spoke with them, and they seem eager. So I just think it's a consideration. And I think, yeah, and we're hoping, I think I've heard rumors, I guess it's not up to me, it's up to the committee themselves, that the event will be September 20th, which is the same weekend as the Orbis San Venona Game Fair, which brings thousands of people to our community, and not everybody wants to take part in the 2-day event the whole time. So we found that many people came in the village, and it's also a Millbrook Central School District, I believe, reunion weekend that weekend. So somebody reached out and said they would love to have this activity then.
so becoming a member, what is the requirement? I mean, is there a certain number of meetings that,
No.
No.
So the board will meet once a month. The group will meet, as a group, we're hoping at least 4 times a year. We're trying to make them fun. So House
Okay.
of Steffa's kind of idea.
Yeah.
And in a local business, because it's an opportunity for everyone to go to those businesses. And it's really an introduction, so we would like to start every meeting with the simple thing of saying, hi, I represent blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And what we found, I mean, I was really shocked recently in a committee meeting where a member of our committee came in. I thought, like, was one of those people that everybody knows. And he sat down and I was like, oh, went on. And he was like, well, I don't know. We don't, I said, you don't know one another? And it was this sort of really interesting thing. It was like, oh, this is, and you realize that even in a committee where everybody in theory should, not everybody does. So I think it's a really nice thing to put a face to
sure.
something.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of helps everybody and makes things more possible. And again, it is a really broad, we're 13-member committee, which is what is recommended. That's what's stated by the bylaws to have. And it's everyone from, Reardon Briggs, Dawn at Reardon Briggs, and Fountain at the Bank, and Forest Howland, and, it's sort of, you would know, I'm sure.
What's your current dues paying enrollment on the association right now? How many businesses do you have right now?
So we started with a very low number when I took over, and we are growing. So we are, I believe Ashley Lemke keeps the things, and she's very rigorous. I think we're at 69.
And how many total businesses are in the town, do you know?
Well, that's crazy. So I actually did.
Of course, I'd ask that question.
Yeah, I actually did some research a few years ago on that, and businesses, so it's supposed to be anything. That includes farms, it includes, because that was a stipulation in here, actually, that it says very clearly that farms are considered MBA members or potential MBA members. So I actually went through the amount of businesses from different types of farming, different types of home businesses, because I just went through Google and registrations of LLCs and all this, and I came up with a few hundred just that had never even been, thought of. So we actually have a really, really vibrant group of businesses. Forgot to say Millbrook Stone, Millbrook Garden and Stone also just joined another new business. So we actually have a really vibrant, and I'm hoping even, I would like to see, they'll sort of laugh at me. I would like to see 300 members. I think that a lot of those will be smaller, single, but that was even something like one of our Makers and Market Committee members. I said to her, "You have a business." And she's like, "But I'm not on Franklin Avenue." And I said, "You're in the town of Washington. Welcome." And she immediately signed on. Now, granted, she does events all over and not necessarily here, but that's a really vital part of our Farmers and Makers Market Committee. She does a huge amount of the work. And I thought how crazy it is that she didn't even realize that she could join. So,
Is there an affiliation with the Chambers of Commerce in any ways as a lobbying group or?
we are not yet. I've been speaking to the surrounding, they usually put me on with the treasurer because we're actually also looking at starting this thing that's a Millbrook e-gift card, which would mean that for participating businesses, people can get this gift card. They can shop online at this participating businesses or go into those businesses, and it's run like a MasterCard. And what we really want to do is give this idea that during the holidays, during special times, whatever it is, a business is giving to the people that work with them, or Millbrook's school, to the parents, to really support all of these businesses. So in that, Pauline has had a very successful time with that, and I've been speaking to Red Hook and, oh gosh, I've called all over the country too, but to other participants to make sure it's okay. And I also called the Dutchess County. I will say in my work, all of the people in the Dutchess County Chamber, all of those businesses do pay dues. The majority of the other municipalities that I called, their town and village halls also pay dues to their business association. I don't have my current list. I sent it to the mayor, but I can also forward that to you, and my sort of diligence about this, because when he said, well, do other people do this? I found that indeed, not all of them. It depends on the organization, but I think most of these business associations, it seems to me, are in this process of really trying to strengthen their business communities, not only to compete against big box stores and online shopping, but to really try to ensure as much money comes in and supports locally as possible, because businesses already feeling some of the effects of what's going on.
So if who do we contact if we decide that
So
you just happen to have
I happen to have, this is David Fountain, top of district. He goes around with them all the time. I know that Charles here is not a member this year. Is there anybody else here? Anybody else have a member of business? You're all safe?
I have no
You may certainly. So you can apply online or you just fill out the form. It's not, you fill out the form online. You just have to be a business within the town of Washington. And then there's dues. You would not be a single proprietor business because you have employees. So, there's that. And, yeah, It's, I think you're gonna see just, I mean, I know that Gary is gonna be going to the House of Stuffers event. If you got in your application, you too could attend the House of Stuffers event next Thursday.
So what is it, 200 for?
Yeah,
It's
dues
200
plus
for the
web
year,
link.
plus
What
the
does that
web
mean?
link.
What does that mean?
So what I
Web-
have
Our
now,
website.
yeah,
Oh, so
so we could do
your
that.
site would link to our site.
No, so,
Oh.
well, yes, we would put your site, it would be a live link. Currently, I can show you on, the MBA site. I have to just, I should have gotten this, sorry.
Hmm.
So currently, you know, which you don't have to do. You can have Town of Washington and not have a live link. But I will show you, so. Okay, so in the living section on the site. Municipal. So currently, this is what we've done for municipal. So I have got some of this admittedly, and needs to probably be updated, but you sort of see it goes, we have all the different departments, the different municipal services. And it goes on. That's currently what we have on your page, which I did just so that people,
Okay,
just so that people have.
okay.
Like,
So.
Good.
so
Yeah.
that's, I don't know,
database.
if you,
Okay.
have you, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's a networking that we do.
Okay.
Well, this is just
So
the
then-
idea being that if anybody visits, and especially
They're
for like,
searching, they can get onto
So
our site.
we don't
but they
keep
want
that.
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
so the idea
Yeah.
being that if
Yeah.
anyone comes here, this is especially for
I think
real
it's a good
estate,
thing to do,
people like
though.
that, where
Sure.
they're visiting, they're like thinking
Well,
of
you have to.
coming
Come on.
here,
You have
investing,
to.
whatever,
It's
you
all-
have
Sure.
all the different sort of, just
Yeah.
within
Oh,
living.
Sure, we're just gonna make you our
That's-
spokesman, that's all.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And we're
I didn't
gonna,
realize it was townwide, I thought it was village-wide.
But
So,
this,
so
this
You
is
see
the
what I mean?
problem. That's
was
like
that
the
always the
scary
case?
thing. No, it's always since its inception.
In
Yeah.
townwide?
Yes, and
Oh.
I don't know why there's this feeling like it's Franklin Avenue even,
Yeah.
which
Right.
is,
Yeah,
that's,
that's right.
I mean, yes, of course, it's Franklin Avenue, but it's really beyond that.
Yeah.
And then we also have, which is here, sorry, we do this as well, which is the Instagram for the MBA. So in theory, only MBA members should be featured on the Instagram. So we had, well, 21,000 views in the last 30 days. It's not a bad number. And I sort of, it has, but it has, you
So
know,
the town rec
finance-
could advertise their, like, going
Well, so
to
usually
New
what I
York City
do-
trips on that.
Usually what I do with those is I story them and then I put them in here. So if you like, so like May 9th here, whoops, we have winemaker,
Mhm.
no, I can't do this upside down, but like we have the Billbrook Music Salon. And so all of these usually is where I keep
Mhm.
coming soon, volunteering, kids things. This would probably be, this is Innisfree, Millbrook Early, you know, it can be.
Okay,
Okay.
So the idea, oh, here's a timeline. So the idea being that it's very, we ask that people tag us because with the algorithm, it doesn't, just because you post something doesn't mean necessarily I see it. And I hope somebody else will, somebody else will keep this on, but
Yeah.
anyway. It is something that's, you know, we do have high engagement. We, people seem to really like it. And again, that's another benefit of being a member. So it's not only on the site, but it's that. And it's just supporting.
Of course.
yeah.
That,
We
that
got it.
alone. you know.
Well, thank you for coming, I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
You have any other?
Any questions for Lisa? No? We will, be in touch.
And I would love
I was.
to be on the committee. It's not an arduous thing. It's a good.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much. Okay, Marta, you and Pam are here to talk about the, grant.
We are.
Well, you come right up and talk about it. then.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
What's this we stuff?
So thank you
You're
for looking at our request. We are seeking, the CAC is seeking a grant from the Hudson Valley Greenway, which is an agency of New York State, that gives grants to communities throughout the Hudson Valley for, to protect natural resources, and to promote tourism and other types of economic development. We're seeking funding for a consultant to help us work on the next steps following the natural resources inventory. The town spent a lot of time and effort to complete this NRI at the end of 2023.
Sure.
The town board adopted it. That was a follow-up to the comprehensive plan. Both the 2015 comprehensive plan and the 2023 update say that the NRI is something we should do. And moreover, that we should actually do something with the NRI, which is to create what is known as an environmental protection district. Our town zoning code already provides for this so-called EP district. It's just never been mapped. And so if you have a property or a project in the EP district, you can still go forward with the project. It just needs some additional approval. The planning board is very much behind and in favor of the grant and looking at this issue more carefully now that we have the NRI.
Mhm.
So this particular project, we would retain a consultant to help us figure out, so within the NRI, which natural resources are most important. We would also look at what other towns have done. We would also talk to other local nonprofits, such as the Dutchess Land Conservancy, to figure out what land in the town is already protected, so we don't protect things that are already protected.
Yeah.
And so we would do a lot of wide-ranging research that we would hope would benefit. Then we would also talk to key stakeholders, such as you, such as the planning board, such as other people in town, to figure out, well, you know, does any of what we're looking at make sense? We would also, I think, get public input prior to any kind of public hearing. We would try to get some sort of public outreach, but figuring out what that would look like is something that I think we need some consultant help with. We would take a look at what had already been done for the comprehensive plan, but we would try to build on that. Then finally, after, again, lots of communication, lots of discussions with stakeholders, we would come up with a list of priorities within the NRI and then figure out, you know, what next steps might be with that. So the request is for $5,000 as a matching. So we would ask for up to $5,000 from the state. It would be a matching the funds coming from the town. So it would be a total of up to $10,000 to retain the consultant. That doesn't count volunteer time. We haven't included a number in that, but we might sort of supplement the budget that's included in the grant request to reflect that. It also doesn't request any money for legal assistance. The provisions are already in the zoning code, so I don't really know yet what legal help might be needed. It hopefully won't be any new drafting, but I think, you know, there'd be some sort of legal review of whatever we come up with.
Mhm.
So that's the overview. Any questions?
Well, What exactly, I mean, we already have some protection under the, with the NRI, right?
Well, the NRI is, it has the maps that are there, but the question is, so suppose you want to build something near something that's listed on one of the maps. Right now, it's not really clear sort of what process you would go through. There's no automatic approval process to go through if you are building near something that's listed in the
Mhm.
NRI.
Mhm.
So the NRI right now is more descriptive. It's not a legal document.
But the planning board looks at the NRI
They
when
do.
when they're making any of the decisions
Exactly.
on any of their.
So they do, but this will give a sense of, so which resources within the NRI are more important. And there's nothing that requires an applicant to focus on what's in the
And
NRI.
what
But the
You refer
CAC,
to-
no, I'm sorry.
you
Mike.
refer to resources.
Mhm.
What would the resources that you're looking at be? Would they be plant? Would they be fish? Would they be animal?
So that's the question. The NRI has identified all of those, but some of them are obviously more important than others, right?
And right now you want to prioritize those importance.
Things like water resources,
Mhm.
which would typically be more important to protect since they impact more people. So that's exactly the kind of thing that we would look at. Because right now there's no priority given.
I don't have any other questions. I mean,
But the CAC, aren't they here for us to present priority if there's any engagement to
So-
the environment?
so-
Like, is that,
So
I mean, like, we're not like overstepping a committee we already have?
So the CAC right now weighs in on wetlands applications, for
Right.
example. And if there is, if we see something that we think is important, but typically we weigh in only upon request from the zoning board or the planning board. It's something of a delicate balance because if we have strong views, we'd like to express them. On the other hand, we don't want to make comments where they're not wanted. So it's so this would highlight and give more priority to the natural resources that the CAC would have otherwise might comment on, but might not.
And the consultant would be a specialist in this particular arena.
Yes, and might tell us what has worked best in other towns nearby. We would not want to reinvent the wheel. If there was something that another town nearby had done that was very good, we would want to know about that. And of course, we can do a lot of that research ourselves, which we would plan to do, but it's oftentimes better in a project like this to have an independent third party who may have done this before to say, oh, you might want to look at this or that.
Under the bylaws or under our guidance to the CAC, one of the responsibilities of the CAC is to report to the board a list of the natural resources in the town,
Right,
which you've done.
which we've done.
Now you're taking that list and you're looking more deeply into that list to say, okay, we've got the list, but within that list, what is more important?
Right, and is what is really critical within that list, because right now it all looks of equal importance, and we know we know that water is a
There's degrees of importance.
there's degrees of
Okay.
importance, and this will help us do that.
when is it due?
So the application is due May 2nd or May 3rd, but this is your last meeting before the grant is due, and so that's why we're here now, even though it's well in advance.
Yeah.
I had a preliminary call with with the Hudson Valley Greenway, and they liked what they saw. They thought it was a good project for them to invest in.
Gary, could I comment?
Sure.
That shadow is Bob.
Bob Audia. I apologize for not being there in person. I'm a little worried about having EV protection districts within our town, because if you look at our NRI inventory, it's pretty much the whole town. I mean, it touches every part of the town. And I think our zoning and planning board does a pretty good job, especially now that they have the NRI inventory. I'm worried if we have EV protection districts, it's going to prevent, or it's going to hinder, tie the hands, I think, of our planning and zoning board. Because if we take, I was on the zoning board of appeals for years, and I understand that, when you're building something or you're doing something or you need a variance and there's a natural resource in the area, it needs to be protected. And we understood that. And I think our current boards understand that. I just don't think we need another layer of protection. I think, we're very lucky that we have an NRI inventory, and we're very aware that it encompasses most of the town, but I'm a little worried that it may overstep and hinder any kind of reasonable growth that we may have. I just wanted to comment about that. I don't believe we need it. I'm not against, putting a further study to it, but I don't want to see somebody doing a lot of work and then, anyway, I'm not in favor of having EV protection districts on top of the stuff that we already have.
If I can respond.
Sure.
I certainly agree that if you take a look at the NRI, it does cover a lot of the town. And that, I think, is of concern, because you want some parts of the town to be less restricted, right? And so that is the point of this exercise, is to bring some focus onto what's more important than others. And I don't think it's necessarily a problem to do a lot of work and look at this issue and then decide, well, maybe an EP district isn't right for us. I think it would be worse to have done all this work on the NRI and then just, not take the next steps with it. The other point is that the planning board, is behind the grant. I think they want to take a look at this issue in a little more detail. And certainly they and the zoning and the ZBA would be involved as key stakeholders, because we would not want to make the process more cumbersome for them. I agree with that completely.
So going through the process and the research, and at the very end, we might have an idea that we might not need it.
That's right.
But then the research would be there to show that we don't need it.
Or
Right.
or that it can be used, or the research can be used to say, oh, well, this area is more important than the
Mhm.
others.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, either
It's-
or, but yeah,
Either
okay,
way,
okay.
The devil is in the details when you get to the end. The
that's right.
study is not, I think the study part is okay. How it gets worded at the end is where it could screw up, to Bob's point, is where it could hinder future growth. When you look at the NRI and you look at all the different maps, there's a lot of overlay and commonalities between stuff that we already have, you know, wetlands, wetland permits, land that's already under easement that is listed in the NRI map for water drinking quality, water drinking areas, like my whole farm falls under that category, and it's all under a conservation easement. So it's, some of this is kind of like a duplication of services, but I understand we can't nitpick little pieces of it out, but I just,
It's a good comment.
with the understanding that we might pick this thing apart when it gets down to the end.
Okay.
That's my
Mhm.
thought
No,
process.
that's,
Well, my worry is everybody might look at our NRI in a different way. So Mike Murphy may say that, you know, a woodland area is more important than a streamed area. And so he would want that EV protection district for a woodland area, and Doug may want it for certain streams or water bodies. And that's where it gets a little complicated, and that's where I think that our boards are, I just think they're sufficient enough to look at our NRI and listen to people who are pro and against anything that may happen in an NRI area. And I just don't think we need to have EV protection districts. We already have the inventory. We know that that inventory should be protected. So to me, it seems futile, and I'm sorry.
I
If
think
everybody disagrees, that's fine.
Doug's point, though, is the grant is not formalizing an EV district. It's presenting what's within the NRIs by categories of rank. Most important to important, because nothing is least important. And then from that study, the committee or the consultant would come back with a recommendation. You need one here, you need one there. Then it becomes public input and vote of the board. So there's no vote, or there's no determination of an EV district right now. It's more, give us the data, and then maybe there is a need, but certainly when it comes time to determine that, there will be debate and open forum on that. And then your argument becomes very valid, and we have all this other data. Do we really need, thanks for the new data, but do we really need to establish another footprint over an existing footprint?
Well, that's where I think, you know, I mean, it's a matching grant, so it's going to cost the town a minimum of $5,000 that the taxpayers have to pay for, that I think we already have the protection for. And that's, I just think that historically we've been very, very attuned to protecting our natural resources. I was born and raised here. I fished all the streams and dammed them up and done some other things to them, but I just don't agree with it. That's all.
Eric, did you want to chime in on this?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm Eric Alexander. I serve on
Yeah.
the planning board, but I certainly am not representing the planning board.
Right.
Just not just as a citizen. The planning board looks at issues and is able to exercise discretion. There's an application from the planning board now to expand the home that's entirely within the wetland. But the idea is, they want to expand it in a way that doesn't put it further into the wetland. But the board, as I understand it, will have some discretion in terms of approving it or not. I just wondered, when you, in going forward with the research, it'd be helpful to know if this would restrict the board's discretion in making decisions like that.
Well, we would have to, look at the language carefully, but I think the idea is to go through additional permitting processes rather than to restrict, than to have an absolute prohibition on development in the EP district.
May I ask the question, Margaret, what stimulated the CAC to go after this grant? Was it just knowledge that it was posted
Yeah,
somewhere?
we receive grants now and again, information.
Notifications?
Notifications from the state and different, agencies, obviously. And we review them, and if there's something that is, current with what we're doing, and as Pam said, this is just a continuation of what we've been working on with the NRI and all the processes that we've been going through. And it's just a logical next step.
And there is a specific statement in the update to the comprehensive plan that the town should look at, should use its NRI to look at an EP district. So that was, I mean, I don't think that we would be doing this without that input from the comprehensive plan.
It's just a continuation of the things that we've been doing up until this point.
Was there any conversation with the people that helped us with the NRI on this type of next step prior to you formulating an application for the grant?
Well, I think that would be the next step is to talk to them. I mean, we would want to,
That's what the, yeah.
grant would be about.
That's what the grant is about, is
Oh, okay.
to converse with them about this.
All right, well, we obviously need to hash this over a little bit, so we will do that and
Okay.
get back to either one of you.
Yes, no
Is
problem.
that
Sounds
okay?
very good.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you
No,
for
we
listening.
appreciate you coming here too. Thanks,
Okay.
Margaret. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pam.
Okay, so the next motion to accept a new contract for the BAN with the Bank of Millbrook.
Yeah, so for the Bridge New York project, the original ban we did last year
Yeah.
has expired.
Yeah.
So we need a new contract. I spoke to Matt at the bank. We just need a new contract with the new dates.
And who does that? Does Joe do that or?
Yeah, did you get my email? I had sent,
On the van? Yeah.
so we just need a new contract.
So we need a motion.
We don't have to go through another closing, do we, then?
No, just an extension
Okay.
of, well, I won't speak to that.
Yes, no, that's right. You're right. Just authorize that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So someone make that
I'll
motion.
make the motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thanks, Bob. Motion to approve the 2024 court audit resolution.
Does everyone know the background of this?
Yeah.
We got notified by the comptroller's office that they need verification and validation that the board at some time in the beginning of 2025 reviewed the 2024 court records. Chrissy had brought them in, put them on the table. We
Yes.
just took some, we looked at them,
Yes.
questioned why we were looking at some cases that dated back to 2020. We put that into the minutes, we approved it. Now we're just sending a formal response that has to go on letterhead from the court that we did the audit.
Okay.
Motion to approve,
I'll make that motion.
okay, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Approve the March, meeting minutes. Need a motion?
Moved. Did I get the minutes? Did we?
Well, they're on
They're on the website.
the website.
Okay, so, yeah, I didn't read them.
All right, well, we
I mean, I was there.
we can table
I'm
it.
not usually voting on, is this new?
It's something we should have been
We're supposed to
doing.
be doing it.
Okay.
So we'll,
So,
put
because
it
I
on.
have not been, going forward, I'll email you guys the minutes.
so put this on for next month.
Gotcha,
So we'll do March and April next month.
gotcha.
Budget amendment, Lois, any surprises here?
No, just a couple, just to, it's just amendment to the expense line and revenue line for the revenue for the, insurance proceeds for the truck. Well, it doesn't look like we're overexpending that line.
Yep.
You're increasing income and increasing the expense. The same goes for the septic work up at the town pool. we paid for that, but we never, actually did a resolution to accept a budget amendment. The same thing, taking in that revenue, using that
Right.
ARPA money and the donations.
Okay,
And then the same again is to amendment to, receive the income for the composting toilet and offsetting the expenses. So we did have a grant for the composting toilet, so we did get, I think both payments now, so I might have another amendment next month with the balance of.
Got it.
23,000.
okay,
So it's just acknowledging those revenues.
okay. Someone want to make that motion to accept these amendments?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Joe, you are on.
Right.
By the way, that was a nice, little letter of thanks from a resident up on Killarn Road.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah.
Usually the letters from Killarn.
That was very nice.
The insurance claim that we filed has been paid in full, except for a $250 deductible. That was for truck number 8, which sustained $17,000 worth of damage. That was paid. Gary, you had asked me to look at a letter sent by the DOT for possible grant money.
Yep.
It was for federal eligible highways and local roads. It was for the term hotspots or turnoffs, where there's accidents, you get cars off the road, et cetera, like that. It's not for any kind of construction or reconstruction of the
Okay.
road, which I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we make our own hotspots with the loader, at times. The boiler that I fixed is no longer fixed. I patched a section of the boiler, it's leaking somewhere else. That is the one in the highway garage. I'm assuming we're gonna have to get a new one. So, I'll need a motion to go to bid for that. When you're ready, I'm assuming we're gonna have to pay prevailing rate for the boiler, so expect pretty good number.
well, you don't have much of a choice, Joe.
You guys could classify it an emergency, we could do it that way, but.
Well, if this weather keeps up, it's definitely an emergency.
It's gonna snow tomorrow. So anyway, if you want, I will, if you make a motion, I will get some bids. I actually have already called 3 people and only one has appeared and he doesn't do prevailing rate. So
So as it's,
I'll be making more calls.
okay. So it's not usable at all then?
No, it's usable. We turn it on, we turn it off.
Yeah.
You know, it's usable.
I make the motion to
Yeah,
go out to bid.
we gotta
for
fix it.
Replacement of the boiler.
All right, second to that motion?
I'll second.
All in
Just
favor?
give some permission. to
Yep.
start.
Aye.
Yep,
Lastly, we are grading again, I'm not on the roads I should be on, but we are grading the, roads for the marathon. We'll see how that works after tomorrow and Saturday's
the rain.
events. Rain and snow,
The marathon is Sunday?
In 2 inches of rain.
Really? That's what we're
Maybe.
supposed to get?
Maybe.
Thorn and, that's.
Wow.
yeah.
Those runners.
Is
are
that the
dedicated.
weather? Really? Oh my
Starts
God.
tonight.
Yeah.
That's gonna really hurt my time.
Not mine.
Yours will be level. Well, they're running on dirt roads, so,
Yeah, and it's 28 miles, right?
no, 26.2.
Oh, okay. Still,
Don't forget that point set,
yeah.
Point 2.
or 2, whatever.
Do they do Killarn? Do they do,
Oh, God, no.
No,
no,
they do the horseshoe.
they do the
You'll
horse?
see them coming up the horseshoe boy
It's eye-opening when you get up there.
What, yeah,
They
I
do
bet.
half the kennels. They do all of Andrew Hay, half the kennels, Canoe and Fowler. Now, those are girls, I would not allow them to do, Woodstock. There'd be multiple fatalities on the way. There are.
Well, canoe is bad enough.
Canoe is bad enough, but nobody goes on canoe. There's actually people on Woodstock. Why, I have no idea, but it's just not good. Then they come up south, go up the horseshoe, come down, cross, head towards the infirmary, cut across, go all the way back to the rec center, but go to the second entrance on the rec center, come down the hill, and they finish on the basketball court. And that's where they start. It's a tough race.
Yeah,
And it qualifies for the Boston Marathon.
really.
How many are running?
158 so far.
Holy mackerel. That's crazy.
Is there a charity involved?
They do give some of the money to the school district, the athletic department. They've never gotten any notification as to what the money goes to.
Which brings up a point, and not to cut him with Joe, but we were discussing this the other day personally between the two, and we also brought it to the board last night. We may want to, after this season's done with them, bring them in and have them report, because when they came before us in 2010, we did it as a courtesy. They asked to use our spot. But I think we need to bring them in, especially if we're using our road crews to help do work for them and stuff. And the money's going someplace else.
The DOT requested them to get more insurance for it this year.
Yeah. Well, the whole idea that you're sort of exasperated with Dutchess County, emergency services, state police, sheriff's department. 2 weeks for me on these roads.
Yeah.
And when I should be up on the line. And to their point, they've grown. It started out with like 20 grand the first one, and now they're up to 100 and whatever. Yeah, whatever, but.
So if we get all that rain between now and Sunday, I mean, how do you still have to go out and?
Yeah, that'll be the day. Those guys aren't coming in to go out on Sunday. I did it one year. One year I took one man and we put back, Andrew Haight Road back together, because it just washed out the day before the marathon, the day of the marathon, early in the morning. And we did the best we could, but they're on their own after, you know, I mean, there's nothing we're gonna be able to do with the roads that wet.
Yeah,
We'll just make it worse putting machines on.
yeah, okay.
So do you have overtime because of the marathon? Have you come into?
Oh, like I said, just that one time, it wasn't my overtime, it was one man, but we don't have overtime, we do it during the regular working days, but.
It's taken away from
there's
regular
a lot-
road.
I suspect there's a lot of overtime, and I shouldn't say that, I'm correct us, but sheriff's department,
First aid.
state police,
Yeah.
Dutchess County EMS services, I don't know, you know, it's something you, like you just said, you should sort of look into it and say, hey, what do you got, where's the money go?
Yeah.
And how about?
What do they charge to get into that? Any idea?
There is a registration fee, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'll find out. about
just
that.
curious.
But it'd be worth just an update.
Yeah.
Then we could open up conversation with,
Yes, you can.
yeah, we're incurring some costs, can you help us?
Yeah.
I had suggested they redo their routes instead of take a left out of the park and head up North Mavisville onto the dirt roads, and then onto the Shunpike, take a right up 44 and onto the Shunpike, which takes them off of 2 of those roads. Which gives me another week.
They go up Mavisville Road, North Mavisville?
Yeah, they go up North Mavisville, then they drop on to Andrew Haight, and then they go up, and
okay.
run up, Kennels, onto the Shunpike. All we gotta do is go up 44 and onto the Shunpike.
Yeah.
$69.90.
How much?
$69.90.
That's the entry fee?
So that's $7,000 or.
Let's run at $70.
There's also they can qualify for the Boston Marathon?
They did that last year.
Can't they do this in Boston?
Okay.
So we had
All
a
right.
fantastic
That's all I got.
showing
Okay,
at,
Joe.
yesterday's public information meeting.
Yes, I heard.
Yeah, they were very good. Yep,
Mhm.
very thorough.
Enthusiastic crowds.
Yeah, well, crowds are, no crowds are good.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's done.
Yeah,
Got it
good.
done.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank
Joe.
you.
Thank you,
You're
Joe.
welcome.
Tony's not here. Lisa, you have the floor.
All right, so, I do this every year, give you a count of our exemptions. Kathy actually kind of give you a little bit more information than we've done in the past. You want me to review that quickly?
Yeah.
So ag, we have a total approved right now of 211. We still have a few pending, whether we get information or not. You know, we always have a few that are removed and so forth, but people that don't refile. If they don't get the paperwork in, we make them go to grievance day. So it's the only way we kind of have been able to crack down on the people doing what they're supposed to do. So it seems like that number's down from where it used to be though. I don't know, do you remember what the ag count was years ago? I always
I
I
don't.
don't know what the count was.
I thought when I first came in, it was around 250. So
Mhm.
I don't know. The number seemed lower than it was in the
Okay.
past, but so anyway, interesting.
Well, could it be lower because of, well, I mean, Bonacue's no longer, right? Things
Yeah,
like
but
We
that.
that
have
property's
awesome.
still in a,
Yeah, well,
still on farm.
they're, right, we've got cuts
Things
on
like
that have
that.
gone in a nonprofit,
Right.
so that has changed for sure. And forestry also. So, and actually, I'm happy to say we are down to only 5 Fisher Forestries at this point. We had a lot more than that when I first started. And we pretty much took most of them away because there's a lot of rules under Fisher Forestry. It's a very old program that where we basically can't really, they don't have to give us anything every year. They just have to follow the rules and a lot of them have broken the rules. You know, I saw, changes in boundaries and so forth. So I took it away from them and nobody's complained. So anyway, so yeah, so we're down to 5 on that. So that's good. Hopefully someday we'll have 0. So anyway, so forestry, regular forestries, which is the newer program, we have 92 approved. We do have some denials in that, but so some of those will probably end up in grievance. Seniors, we have 35, which is a little higher than we've had in the past. We had 7 new applications, which is high for us. So that's good. Maybe those postcards are actually helping a little. For the most part, they've been a nightmare for us, but it's good if they're helping people, get in and get the exemption if they're allowed to get it. So that's great. Disabled, we have 5. That's pretty much normal for us. And then volunteer firefighter, that's the newest one. We have 1 new applicant, so we're up to 3 of that.
Lisa, did we ever have a veterans exemption in the town of Washington? I know we discussed it, but did we ever approve it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, we've had,
So we don't have
Many.
veterans?
well, we do. It's just that doesn't really change. I mean, I could give that to you too, but that one doesn't, they don't have to reapply every year.
Okay, yeah, let us know what the veterans number is. It'd be interesting to
Sure,
know.
yeah, I can give that to you next month. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, that's not an annual renewal thing. But I know we did have a few new applicants.
There's a veteran and then there's a combat veteran too. That gets an additional.
There's 3 different levels. There's the basic, and then there's the combat, and then there's the people that have been injured.
Right.
So they all give you more.
Yep.
So all different levels of percentages of what you
Right.
get off on your taxes. All right, and then, okay, so I'll give you the veteran, and I did also, I'm kind of jumping down to number 3 now, review 3 new applications for, oh, I didn't even write that in there, for nonprofit. Sorry about that. My bad on the notes. 2 of them with Carey Institute and 1 was in Innisfree. Didn't put that in my notes. But anyway, so that's what that was for, number 3 for nonprofit. So yeah, so I'm wrapping up the roll right now, and Kathy is pretty much done with going through all the exemptions and my reviews of the paperwork. we just have a lot of lingering paperwork still coming in the next couple of weeks, so hopefully. It's not too bad, but it's still more than we would like to have this late in the game.
And grievance is in May?
Yeah, it's on Tuesday, fourth week of
Okay.
May, so it's on the 27th, I believe, this year.
And the grievance board is up to snuff as far as,
Pretty much, I mean, we have, Jim Bauer is our new member.
Yep.
Replacing
Okay.
Doug,
Okay.
so, he's set up for his training, and, I send him, they have a new manual for the VAR, so I send him that manual. And, yeah, I think,
Everything's all
hopefully we'll be good, yeah.
okay,
So, let's see, and then I gave you counts on the very last one, sales. And, just know that sales also encompasses, transfers, which we have a lot of transfers into trusts, LLCs. I do not include those. When I'm giving you sales numbers, these are real sales, where there's actually, money being exchanged. It's not just transfers into trusts and so forth. So we had 2 outside the village, 3 in the village. It's slow in the winter, but that will be picking up, I'm sure. And then, my reviews for March were 91. Data collection, we had 17 parcels and 22 sites.
Good.
Any
Yeah.
other questions?
any questions?
The only denials for ag assessment were either late or they didn't reapply. None were just
Okay,
denied.
3 denials for filing late, yes, so they'll have to go to grievance. We have 4 that just didn't refile.
Mhm.
Sometimes they don't let us know, but 2 of them did let us know. So there were a total of 6 that didn't refile, but 2 of them called, they contacted us and said, we are not gonna be refiling. 4 of them we just didn't hear from, so.
But none were just denied on merit.
Other than, yes, other than the fact that we had the 3 that filed late. Yeah. We do still have some that have to get paperwork to us. Like, I know that getting income from the farmers is always a thing. If they don't, we usually get it. If they don't, we are gonna take them off, make them go to grievance. So we're just trying to tighten things up a bit because, it's really their responsibility. We can't just be chasing the farmers down either. It's really the owner's responsibility. We don't have any issues with. There's some others we have issues with. So, anyway,
Good.
and it's not for this tax year either. It means it's the previous year. So they've already filed those returns. And we can take an average of 3 years too. So it doesn't have to be just the 2023 return. But they can even give us receipts if they want. So, yes, they can get it to us. All right. Any
Thanks, no, I guess we're good, thank you, Lisa, thanks, Lisa.
All right.
Danielle, do you have Matt's report?
do have nuts.
She cracks me up all day long, I swear.
Too funny, thanks.
Okay, so he has, the Town Park Septic, we've been in contract with Superior Sanitation, and decided to push off the install until there's, due to the weather, so they're looking for 4 dry days and dry days before that, so they can pull it up. And also the military has done in the town park is receiving a shed on Tuesday, April. They came in, they were staying in and installed a gravel pad for the shed that is coming in on Wednesday the 16th. The shed will be used to house tractors and other skag mowers and other pieces of equipment that we're using. Matt has been working on the roof project. That is the roof for the concession stand and the bathrooms and his maintenance area. It's been stripped, ice and water barrier, new sockets were framed and installed. Project should be completed by next week if the weather is. Camp building project update, Friday, April 8th, Briggs Paving was on the site and paved new parking spaces and walkway to the front of the door of the camp building. HVAC is starting tomorrow. The window project for the town hall, we did we went out for RFP, we've only gotten one. You've all been given copies of that. New Beginnings window and door will be, if you decide to say yes to the contract or be awarded the contract. And there's an option for interior paint that we need to talk about. I don't know if you want to talk about that now.
Why not?
You have the contract.
Yeah.
I gave it to Joe to look it over, and
Right.
he approved everything.
Yep.
So the price includes just the windows. It does not include interior paint or stain. To add paint on is an additional 319, which is on your last page of it. To add stain is close to 400. I believe, yeah.
To add what?
Close to 400 per window.
For
or
stain.
stain
Oh, stain.
Versus 312 for paint. I don't know how you feel about that. So it will be coming in just bare pine,
Yeah,
like what you see with the handles on it. So do you want that painted or stained? And I said to Matt, well, what's better? And he said, really, he would suggest stain,
Mhm.
but if you go with paint, then
Stain is less maintenance in the future.
Is it?
Because you paint
Yeah.
chips and cracks and whatever.
so we budgeted 32,000 for this project. They came in at 3188, right? That's what's on the contract.
we don't have anything painted in this
Well,
building,
it's stained.
right? It's all
Yeah,
stained.
stay.
Is that right? I mean, like, I'm looking
so.
at that right there, that's different from that.
Stain.
It's all
Stained.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all stained.
Well, we're still within what we budgeted for.
Well, the add-ons will make it go over a little bit. So, Lois and I have been talking about things that have been budgeted in for, Lois had it into the budget to do some tools for the town hall that Matt would need. But I think that all the tools that he needs, he's already put under his tools budget for the park. So we might be able to use that, is that right? Or
No, I'm talking about just the windows.
just the windows?
Mhm.
Just the windows. If we stain them, we still have money that we budgeted to cover that.
I think the stain.
The state takes it
Well,
over, is what I'm saying.
How much did we budget for?
32,000,
Well, this is 30,000.
right?
Plus the
And then you
stain,
have
plus
to do the
$400 a
400,
window.
Basically 400 times 9 windows.
Oh, okay, got it.
Another 36.
Right.
so that's,
So
We
we need a
gotta do
motion
it.
for you to sign the contract, right, Joe?
Yeah, yep.
And then we decide on which add-on you would prefer to do.
I would make the motion to accept it and with the stain addendum.
okay, so once again, we budgeted 30,000,
32.
32, so 32, and then it's gonna be, so we're gonna need what,
3,600.
No,
no.
$1,700.
$1,700.
Right.
Okay, yeah, so I go with Mike's motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay. I need to sign this, Danielle?
Yes, please. The water in the park has been turned on today, but as everything happens, there's always hiccups. One of the outside pumps,
Here, I guess.
that had a,
Not very clear.
it's right outside where Matt's building is that he works out of. There was a spigot out there that started to spray. There's actually a leak in the roof in Matt's building, so he's gonna fix that tomorrow. But, I cleaned all the bathrooms today, filled up got the toilets and everything ready for the marathon. So we're all set with that. He just has to turn on little cobwebs and stuff have to be swept out, but we should be good.
We're not quite clear on where to sign this. It says
Submitted
accept,
by, accepted by.
We'll see what it is.
Submitted by, accepted by,
Accepted, I think, is where we would, because you're accepting it,
right.
because they're
And
the
they'll
ones that gave
submit
us
it.
the contract, is that?
they're the ones that submitted it.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
accepted Broward to be.
This here, yeah, we're accepting.
Yeah.
See them back out.
That's all of Matt's.
Okay, nail the fence. And then, filter.
He wants to talk about that next one.
Okay.
Any questions for that?
You wanna try it again? You wanna try it again?
No.
You know, we'll have Danielle's report now.
Hi, everybody. Last night I had my recreation commission meeting. There were 5 commissioners there in attendance along with me and Mike Murphy. The CDBG grant, as you know, work is proceeding on that. We've received all the paperwork for the subcontractors with the grant. We have to get paperwork from all the subcontractors and JP Woods. That has been handed in. It's been handed into the county. So we're good to go. HVAC is excitingly starting tomorrow. It was originally supposed to be Saturday, then they wanted to push it off for Sunday and then learned about the Millbrook Marathon being there. So they are making time to do it tomorrow.
Right.
All of you received an email about the new MAKE grant because some of you forwarded it to me.
Mhm.
I had a meeting with Deirdre about the grant and went over different things that were happening so far in that building. We talked about different things that we could do in the building that would be best for a senior program. Originally, I thought our senior program would be a 3-day, 4-hour program. This grant reads that you should be having a senior program with 18 hours or more. So we have to play with that a little bit. So they're going to choose whatever senior programs have 18 hours first and then go down lower. So we could start ours maybe 4 days a week at 4 hours. So we could start off with that and see if there's enough people. It's going to take a couple of months for people to find out over there anyway.
Mhm.
The application is due on the 15th, so I've priced out windows all along the building to be replaced. And Deirdre and I talked about having a new kitchen put in. Also, the garage doors can be replaced with doors that are going into the current grant, similar to what's going in, but no ADA compliant building or button for that. The kitchen would have a 3-bay sink and a hand washing station so that it can be Department of Health certified. So we can take that area on the weekends when it's not being used as a senior center and we can rent that space out. So they can use that kitchen for rental. As it is right now, it could probably be rented out for about $320 per 6-hour period because we compared other places. Now, that doesn't include tables and chairs. We could also either include that if we wanted to, or add that as another rental. And then the usage of the kitchen, you know, we can figure that out as we go. But it would be a good moneymaker for the town.
How much can we apply for? In the
She
budget
suggested
or in the grant?
the minimum is 20, but Deirdre suggested we do between 40 and 50.
Okay. Great.
So before the kitchen was even done, I was up to 19, so we'll be good. Good to go.
Well, that'd be awesome. Look at that.
Summer hiring is going on. Our camp director has been conducting interviews for camp staff. For lifeguarding, I've hung flyers in Millbrook, Sanfordville, LaGrange, Clinton Corners, and Salt Point. And I've had 2 responses just from the flyers, and we're getting some 18-year-olds, which is, we can't have the waterfront open unless we have at least one lifeguard that's 18 years or older. So this is so far 3, and I've got 1 in the works. So
Okay.
that's good so far.
Yeah.
Summer camp is June 30th through August 8th. Camp will be 9 to 12 as usual. This year, we're having some entertainment at camp, a magician, Sharon Audubon, that will bring some animals. We'll be offering after camp camps, like a basketball skills camp like we had last year, and 2 2-week art camps, along with Trout Unlimited that did theirs last year. So I talked about the senior center already. I've been in touch with the Office of the Aging for support, and they're really excited about hearing that Washington is going to have a senior program. We're talking about getting some exercise classes with them and having them come in and talk to us about different things that they could talk to them about Medicare, Medicaid. When it comes time to reevaluate what they are currently signed up for, what one is better for them, if they'd like to change it, different things that we can think of that we can make them more aware of and support them. So they were really excited about that. Easter egg hunt. Tomorrow night will be our Twilight Easter egg hunt, which begins at 8 p.m. Everybody brings flashlights and looks for eggs in the dark. Saturday, in the snow and rain, we start at 10:30 for kindergartners and under, and at 11, third grade to first grade. The Little League has approached us about being interested in using our field. It hasn't been used for quite a while.
Who has?
The Little League. They have been using it, but they've been using the backstop because they want to keep the kids away from the playground because that's all they want to do is play on the playground. This year, they're a little bit older and they're asking if we can do something about that field since it hasn't been touched. So it has to be tilled. They're asking us to purchase some clay, some basketball or baseball clay and soil or whatever. I started to look up pricing on it. In our commissioners meeting last night, one of our commissioners does baseball for the jail, and he'd spent $5,000 on that.
Clay.
You know, we went through this once before
We
and,
did.
we asked the people that wanted to use it to fix it.
In Pleasant Valley, the Little League there, they maintain the whole thing. They have their own tractor, they have their own rakes,
Right.
they supply everything there. So they're asking if they till it up, can the highway department come and roll over it? You know, I'm not quite sure if that's possible either.
Well, I mean, to what extent do they want help from us? I mean, there's
They're-
more than just the infield, you know, there's,
Well, they're asking for the highway to come and roll the whole thing. And for us to supply them with some clay. And I said to them, it's not in the budget for that, so I have to price
Right.
things out and see what's possible. Red Wing no longer carries that anymore, so I found a supplier in Massachusetts and they're calling me tomorrow with prices and delivery, so I don't mean.
The estimate's about $5,000.
Yeah.
For 6 games.
yeah. I don't
That's
think
why I
so.
said it's probably easier to till it. As long as the difference between the grass and the infield is not a lip.
Yeah.
Because that's what we ran into when Chelsea had to bring in all that dirt and we rolled it.
Right,
So it doesn't shoot up and hit them in the face. Also, it's not a older little league, so it's more of an adult pitch league. So the use of the batter's boxes and so on and the outfield fencing plays no role in this particular league. Because we asked about, do we need signage on the fence, cutting the outfield? The guy said they're gonna be lucky if they hit a ball over second base, so.
oh, okay.
But it is something that we probably have to address later. It might stimulate more people to use it once they find out that some people are using it. Takes care of the pickleball area, but
Well, so it needs to be tilled and it needs to be rolled. And then what about like the bases and the lines and
Bases are okay for now, they'll have to be replaced next year.
the what?
They'll have to be replaced next year.
and they'll have to line each game themselves.
Which we offer to give them the paint and
Little machine.
And who was involved in this group?
this is Tim Hicks, is his team. But Mike Giutelli is the head.
Mike Dinatelli still?
Yes, yes, is in charge of the Little League, yeah.
And they are affiliated with Williamsport.
I don't know, what do you think? I mean,
I'll get prices and I can let you know. About this, the soil, I think. I mean, we really
Well,
didn't budget for it. I'm thinking that it's gonna be,
If it's, they don't
To
use
3,000.
chalk anymore, so once it's painted, just like the soccer fields, once you've got your template down, as long as the grass doesn't overcome it and have to be cut and you have to line it again, a couple of strokes of the paint for the lines should last them through their season.
But aren't the lines in the dirt, the base lines,
Yeah, but it's paint. So it goes right on top of the dirt.
but it stays there?
Yeah, they're not gonna dig up. It's not like a high school team that's got cleats and they're gonna dig that all up every time they run a couple of cans of paint, the roller, that should be fine. But if this is gonna be an annual thing, I think, again, discussion should be, we rent this out to them, do we bring back some income to cover some of our costs?
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to tell Danielle, I met with the Fishkill Rec Department today. And they gave me a whole list of what they charge for facilities, equipment, rental, and so on. And I'm gonna get that to her tomorrow. So you'll have a reference.
Okay.
On what other are charging the public. And they do the same thing. You come in, we charge you for the chairs, we charge you for we no longer line the fields, the rec or the highway department no longer does lining on any of their fields. It's up to the renter to take care of all of that. So I'll share that with you tomorrow.
I suggested, he had his first practice last night, so I suggested that he talk to his parents and see how many volunteers will come out and help out with that.
Yeah.
When our kids were doing it.
Yeah.
That's
we
what
had a day
that's what we did the last time.
When we had Little League 16s here in the town of Washington.
Yeah.
It was a coach's day and parent day. They came with rakes,
Yeah.
shovels and rollers and
That's right.
weed whackers.
I mean, what kind of tilling? There's different levels of tilling.
Right.
So
It's more of that rake, the finger rake that would pull it up. Because right now it hasn't been used in years and it's pretty solid. But at least somebody's interested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So upgrades on the park. Many of our wood tables and cement grills at the park have seen better days.
Right.
We budgeted this year to replace some of them, so I ordered 6 tables and 6 grills.
Mm-hmm.
The 6 tables that came in are the metal tables with the what's it called? Thermoplastic coating. They came in green.
Mm-hmm.
Matt has already moved many of the old grills, and it looks so much better without those
It's nice and clean.
cockeyed. Yeah, they look really good. So he's got all of the tables together. One came in damaged. They're sending that out to replace. We don't have to send the other one back, but and then the new grills will go in accordingly.
We gained an extra table.
The Millbrook Marathon. So they're gonna have 150, 170 people coming to the park, and after 2 days of rain and possible snow, they're going to all be parking up on our grass towards the large pavilion, and I will be visiting quite often and taking lots of pictures because I'm anticipating that it's gonna be ripped up. And when I did talk to them about it, he said, don't worry, if anything gets ripped up, I'm totally gonna come back here and fix it, which is what he said last year too. So it's growing and growing, and parking, I anticipate the parking is gonna be an issue. Mike kind of doesn't agree with me right now, but we'll see what Sunday brings. There's a worry about the park with the blacktop. That blacktop still needs to be replaced. That's $100,000 to replace that blacktop right there. And now we've got runners, many runners that are gonna be on it. And there's gonna be a big bus on that blacktop also, so.
On the new blacktop?
No,
No, the
we
current.
did not get
Oh, you
that.
mean what's that?
So it is a worry to me that the Millbrook Marathon is getting bigger and bigger, and, do we have to anticipate maybe getting bussed in, parked somewhere and they can get bussed in at some point or whatever, well.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
Yeah.
We're taking before and after pictures.
Well, that's how, that's
we'll
what
see how
that meeting will help. We bring them in.
Yeah.
And they anticipate it growing and growing and growing. They're gonna have to strategize on what we do with the cars.
Yeah.
They could go to the high school and then they shuttle bus them over. A lot of communities do that for major events.
Yeah.
I reached out to Mike because I didn't know what the agreement was originally with the Millbrook Marathon. Did you all say they can freely
We did.
That's right.
do whatever they wanted and
Well,
yeah, I mean-
charge or?
It was more of a community
Right.
collegial.
It was small
It was a
though.
new idea.
Maybe they can park up at the high school and
that's
start
what I
from
was
there.
thinking.
Well, that's,
And start
And they
from
would
there.
have to change the whole thing. They just spent a lot of time and money getting this particular
The
route
Course, the
approved.
course.
Yeah,
Oh, approved.
Yeah, and plus when they're running something that qualifies for a much larger event like the
Right.
Boston Marathon, that whole thing has to be certified. They,
right.
Marathon comes over, looks at it. To reconfigure the route would be a
Well,
challenge.
let's just try to be good neighbors for now, and then we'll
bring them
get
in.
together and we'll bring
See
them
what
in,
happens, yeah.
take some pictures.
At some point too, it becomes a premium event and it's an exciting event that brings
It's a
a name
contract.
to the town.
Yeah,
They can also limit it, like make it a premium event. In other words, once you get a feel for what you can accommodate in the town,
Mhm.
cap it. You know, it's like
Right.
first come, first served, the first 150 runners, that's what it is. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And actually it kind of ups its
Prestige.
Yeah.
I'm done. Thank you.
So, I just want to add to your report. We remember last, meeting, the Boy Scouts.
Yes.
made-
right.
Just to let everybody know, we did receive funding for them to do that from an anonymous donor.
Nice.
Very good. Very nice. Yep.
Let's receive that.
Thank you.
One,
Yeah.
can I put you on the spot? One question. Do you want to be on the board for Community Day? That's a loaded question.
I was interested in working with them because they are in charge of the market that's in town. And I wanted to suggest having a winter one at
The building,
the
Mhm.
building. So I wanted to get involved in
For
that.
a winter farmer's market in our building up at,
Oh,
you could have Craftsman, you could have whatever winter foods are available up to a certain point.
And I also want, we were talking about getting some kind of senior discount card
Correct.
for both of those things. She
Now,
mentioned
is
that
that
there was.
something that you want to do with them or do something on your own? The winter
Well, we would
market.
work with their people to do the winter one. I don't know what the involvement would be to be on that committee. I mean, I was involved, I just wasn't involved in their committee. So,
And we have to discuss our membership too. so.
but if we get our membership in, we can all go to the party on Thursday.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right, if we do it under the town and not rec, just rec, then we can all go with this under town. If it's rec, then it's just me. So. I'm bad, thank you.
But
All right.
have you been in yet?
No.
It sounds, it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
okay. Thank you, Danielle.
I don't have Jonathan's.
Oh, no.
Well, he sent his.
Yeah, he said.
Lois, you want to give?
Yes, I just checked my heart rate and that's all right, but my blood pressure is up. Talking about all these expenditures.
It's in the budget, Lois.
I don't know, well, shit. Okay, anyway.
Poor
My
Lois.
normal report. Bank reconciliations have been done since, through February, started in March. I provided you with the bank balances. I provided the board with the municipal cooperation resolution for the New York class.
Yep.
So I guess we have to vote on that so that we can begin participating. I don't know where the paperwork went. I'm a little nervous because I don't see it anymore.
Don't be too nervous.
And
Is that
then
what that
once, Bob comes back and signs the paperwork, I will send it to New York class and they can get our account set up. I've listed several accounts on the back of the form. And it doesn't mean we have to transfer that money, but those were my recommendations, where I'm going to transfer money from. Transfer station invoicing and receipts are posted. The revenue from the Justice Court has been received through March, and the building department's March
Should wait for
report,
Bob to come
and
back.
the town clerk's March report. I submitted the federal and New York State payroll tax returns. They were due April 30th, but I got them in last week. I submitted the ARPA compliance report, which was due by 4:30. I've attached a copy of our expenditure Excel sheet. So we have expended and used all the money. I think I will still have to report when this septic project is completed. But I've let them know we have exhausted our funds.
Okay.
I started working on the 2024 AFR, kind of stuck on the balance sheet. Our system doesn't seem to be, updating some numbers, and I talked to Enhanced, and we're gonna be working on, once I get the balance sheet in, I just have a few more other schedules.
Okay.
So I'm probably 60% there. I continue to work with the New York State Auditor. I am not sure if he has completed his initial audit. If there's more to come, he has not been here for 2 weeks now, which has dropped my blood pressure. So, we received the 2025 tax levy, obviously that was last month, and we have received some penalties and interest. So,
Excuse me, Ron, can I interrupt you for a second?
you may.
Jim Tompkins. I don't know if you all know who Jim Tompkins is. He lives on 82. He's the one that takes great care of the monument, with the flowers, and seeing his wife. You know the story, he paid his tax, he goes to Spain in the wintertime. He paid his taxes and he sent the check in. It was made out to Mary Alice because he didn't know that she left. Well, they returned the check, or we returned it, and he got charged a penalty of 80 some dollars. I mean,
That's a county, penalty
I
that
mean,
we
is
can't.
is
waive.
anybody, any reason why we shouldn't, I mean,
I don't
for the
know.
amount of,
Well, I
The
mean,
amount of work that
I
he
would,
does for
can't we
us.
just, exactly, can't we just forgive him the $80, even though it was slapped by the county? Like,
Right.
can't we just refund him? Because,
I'm not
In a
comfortable
matter-
adjusting anyone's taxes that have been set by the county.
well,
I get why you'd want to do it, but I'm not,
That could stimulate an audit.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
And then somebody
There's
else
gotta
could
be a
come and
way.
say, well, I've done this for the
Because it's
town, and why
county,
should
it's
I
not
have
us.
to?
huh?
It wasn't us, it's the county.
Yeah, but I mean, we could do it as a good faith.
Check out wrong too. So.
He made the check out for the wrong amount,
oh, we did.
yeah.
Oh, so that's part of it. The wrong amount, like, you know,
I'm all about helping
Yeah.
people out,
you know.
but I'm afraid this would raise some red flags.
All right, well,
You know,
I know who you're talking about. He came in, he was so nice. We felt so bad.
I'll tell you what, he's been doing that for 25 years
Yeah.
at least,
Yeah.
at his expense.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he like volunteered to do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
he was telling us all about it as I'm taking
yeah,
his extra money. I
He's
felt bad. I
actually
know.
doing it Saturday.
yeah.
By
he-
Saturday morning, he was working on the monument.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I can reach out to him and make arrangements for him to somehow,
Does he get any other service from us, like,
No.
landfill
I
fees or
don't think
dump?
so.
What if he was to give us, what if he was to give us the bill for the plants that he's putting in equal to $80?
We could do that. That's a great idea.
That's what I was just saying.
Well, he,
Why don't we get his bill for
We should have
plants
plants here.
that equal $80 and we pay for his plants?
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Good idea, Mike. I go for that.
Okay, so we want
Does anybody
to,
want to reach out to,
What?
did you
I'm
want
just
to, or
gonna
do you
say-
want one of us to?
Yeah, well,
Why don't we get a
yeah,
bill from him
and
that's
then have
equal
him
to
send us a
$80 for his
bill.
plants, and give him a check for $80.
Plans for what he's.
Is that so
paid.
loud?
That would be.
We're not allowed to
Okay.
have plants out here
okay, and that's a great idea. And I can also
We're paying
get
for
in
his
touch with him
plants.
and make arrangements that he somehow leaves us
Can't have plants here.
a check
She won't let us buy
or
plants
something before he goes to Spain that we can hold on to. So
I
when
don't know.
taxes start, we
We'll
can,
figure it out.
we have some
Okay.
residents that do that, that are like snowbirds. They'll leave a check, we, on good faith, we keep it in the faith.
safe.
Safe. And as soon as that first tax collection
Right.
date arrives, we process their payment.
Okay.
So we could somehow work something out with him, so this doesn't happen again, because I did feel bad.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, Lois, I didn't,
Trying to do something for the town. Anyway, okay. I attended a New York State retirement seminar at the town of Poughkeepsie last Friday, just to go over reporting. Learned a couple new things, but it was mostly things I had already known.
okay,
I was hoping they were gonna talk more about, how to rephrase, elected officials. But they did not cover that, so, was one of the things the New York State Auditor brought up, that, I think the elected officials, every time they're elected, need to fill out a 3 months, ROA, which is of your duties, like what you did, to establish a number of days worked. Joe, you're not in retirement system anymore. You're all not participating, but I still have to report you. So that's one of the things maybe we need to correct. And then I'll be attending the conference up in Saratoga, April 22nd and 23rd. It's another accounting, 2-night stay.
Okay. Good.
Oh,
Yeah.
go girl.
Yeah, yeah.
She's just flawless.
I'll be bringing the town's laptop. I can pay for at night. No, I have to do that. So that's my report. We did the budget
Okay, and we
amendments.
did the budget amendments, so.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you. Chrissy?
Okay, so, the tax accounts have been reconciled for January, February, and March, and the checks have been sent to the bookkeeper, supervisor, and to Dutchess County. Also, the town clerk audits have been reconciled for January, February, March. Stayed lowest in March today. We hired Lisa Ignelli to be the new planning board ZBA board secretary. She starts on April 21st. Yes, it's very exciting. We are also required to change our website, the name of our website, to end in .gov. So we started the process in doing that. However, we got stuck because it's asking us for us to put in our name, phone number, social security number. So we put out some calls to kind of guide us. How do we maneuver that? Because we're in a municipality, none of us want to put in our personal information.
Right.
So I know other municipalities have done it, so we're just waiting to
Okay.
see how we jump over that. And we've started giving out our spring hunting and fishing licenses. And for the year of 2025, we have completed our workplace violence and sexual harassment training as employees, highway, and
Good.
town
Awesome.
clerk. And that's, I
Good.
think, all I have.
Thank you. Mike?
Some reports on the court and from the district attorney's office. In March, there were 23 defendants that appeared before the court for a total of 29 charges. And there was one small claims court action. The total number of fines for that period was 2,696. Through our office, we received from the state the report that in January and February, the court had deposited $2,131 in January and $1,184 in February for a total of $3,315. Of that $3,315, the state kept $1,560 and the town receives $1,755. Village did not have any reimbursement to them. We received a letter from the Office of the Dutchess County District Attorney, Anthony Parisi, and it is a notification to Judge Poles that 3 individuals have been approved by the district attorney to be able to do cases within our court system. They are Christina Bookless, James Kelly, and Patrick Hickey. And also, and Rizzo, they're from Rizzo and Kelly, PLLC Esquires. And it just goes on to explain what they can do, what cases they can cover and so on. So I will put this on Heather's desk so that
Right.
judge gets it.
Right.
That's all I've got.
Thanks, Mike. Doug?
Planning board meeting was April 1st. Eric Alexander was chair in absence of chairperson Meany. First item was Schmidt and Conway at 443 Valley Farm Road, represented by Crisp Architects. The wetlands consultant gave a positive letter with conditions to control stormwater erosion. And The public hearing was opened. Howard asked about a reasonable alternative to build on the other side of the house. The public hearing was left open until next month, no further action. The second item was Millbrook Special Farm on Butts Hollow Road. That's a Hallmark farm. Site visit by the consultant, the wetlands expert, and 2 members of the board. All with positive reviews for the possible housing site. Public hearing was opened with no comments. Third item was Matthew Solo, the old deli kitty corner from Ruby's on Route 44. Public hearing was opened. No comments. Resolution to approve the special use permit with conditions about signage and no parking in front of the building. That was granted. The last item on the agenda was the Clear property seeking final approval for the subdivision. All conditions have been met of the preliminary plat. Approval was granted. And the last thing that was discussed was there was minor discussion of the Calern Road project, but that was tabled until next month. Meeting was closed.
What do they want to do on Hallmark Farm?
That's, they're gonna possibly. So the idea, they're gonna subdivide 21 acres off 20.86 or something like that. If the rest of the farm sells, Ellenberg would like to be able to build a house on the 21 acres if they sell the other part of the house. But again, they're getting up there.
Doug, what's going in with it up in Mavisville on the corner there?
That will be Edward Jones' office.
Okay. Right, that's right.
That was a rewriting of the special use permit so that it was not so restrictive. It was written so that it was only allowed for the landscape maintenance company that was in there currently. It's been rewritten to allow for commercial use.
Did you have something, Eric, you want to add to that?
You didn't mention anything about the issue that came up regarding the gap between the comprehensive plan and zoning code.
We brought that up
Did you? Okay.
last month, yeah, because we didn't talk about that with the planning board this month, but that was last month.
I just wanted to know if it brought up to the town board.
Yep.
Bob, did you have something?
No, Gary, I'm all set. Matt's report pretty much covered everything.
Okay,
Thanks,
Okay.
Danielle.
yep. Joe?
Okay, so I have a few things, Joe, to ask you, because we want to present Killen Road to the planning board for May. And, so there's a couple of questions we have. We had a public information meeting back June 5th. Would that count as a public hearing?
No, I don't think so, because
No?
you haven't commenced the process of the review.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the town as lead agency for SECR review, so what do we need to do to have that done?
Well,
Do we have to vote on it, or
yeah, I mean, is there a formal?
does the planning board have to like relinquish and then we take up, like what?
No, you can declare your intent to serve as lead agency
Yeah.
for the project, and then if the planning board objects to that,
Yeah,
within 30 days, they can notify you that they.
okay,
That they.
so we would tell them at the planning board meeting?
Well, to declare your intent, you
Yeah.
do that at one of your meetings.
So-
And then a clock would start ticking for
Okay.
other agencies to say no,
Okay, okay.
we object.
Okay, so I think we would have time, like,
I think you would, yeah. And I know that the planner asked for some additional information on just
Yeah.
precisely what the scope of the work
Yeah.
is.
yeah,
So you probably want to wait to get that and then at your May.
yeah, the main meeting.
Declare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So then the other thing is you represent the planning board.
Right.
You represent us.
I think it's a fair point. Susan Meany raised the issue too, and I think it's a good point. It's not necessarily the case that the planning board and town board will share the same opinion on their review of the project. And so, I actually asked my office today whether there are sometimes situations where a firm can establish its, not the term that I would like to use, but you can establish sort of a wall within your firm between two attorneys from the same firm that are independently representing. So I asked that question today. I'll get some feedback from my office. But in any event, it'll ultimately be your decision, but I do think you should have two different voices speaking on that as counsel. In other words, I think you probably should either have two people from our firm, one representing, because as you know, for instance, Kyle represents CBA, right?
Yeah.
Or if that were for some reason seen as potentially maybe not the way you want it to go, you could retain, one of the boards could retain special counsel just for that purpose.
Okay.
So I will give you a report on the.
Yeah, could
ethics
you,
of that
like,
and how you handle it.
prior to, because we would need to.
I'll do it by, what's today? Thursday, I'll do it by Monday,
Okay,
because it's important to us, and
It's-
obviously we don't want to
yeah.
screw that up.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, so that's that. And then I'll give my zoning board report. So the zoning board of appeals met March 18th. After a brief session of attorney-client privilege, beginning at 6:31, Chairman Rattle called the meeting to order at 6:39. The following items were on the agenda. Sherry Lynn Todd at 3515 Route 82. Ms. Todd is requesting a variance special use permit to construct an addition onto her home. Daniel Yadgard at 610 Stanford Road, the ongoing application for the backyard swimming pool. A motion was made to approve the minutes of the February 28th meeting. All were in favor and motion passed. Ms. Todd presented her request for application. She stated that she wanted to increase living space on the second floor of her existing home for her parents to live in. The subject property is 4.79 acres. Chairman Rettle noted that her request included the addition of 2 bathrooms. Ms. Rowland questioned the accessory use and if this was indeed a second floor apartment. Chairman Rettle explained that under code, this fits the description of the accessory use. Chairman Rettle gave a breakdown of the request. The ZBA has to issue a special use permit for increasing the square footage above 25%. The existing square footage is 2,300 square foot and the proposed addition would add 1,700 square feet. This would require an area variance of 48%. Chairman Rettle made a motion to open a public hearing. Mr. Kunkel made a second motion. All were in favor. There were no comments made from the public. Chairman Rettle made a motion to close the public hearing. Mr. Kunkel made a second motion. All were in favor. Chairman Rettle made a motion to declare type 2 under SECRA. A second motion was made. All were in favor. Motion passed. Chairman Rettle made a motion to award a front line setback variance of 23 feet. Mr. Kunkel made a second motion. All were in favor. Motion passed. Chairman Rettle made a motion to award an area variance based on existing lot size of 5.111 acres. Ms. Rowland made a second motion. All were in favor. Motion passed. Chairman Rettle made a motion to award an area variance of 48% increase. Mr. Gomer made a second motion. All were in favor. Motion passed. Chairman Rettle made a motion to place conditions on approval. The above are approved pending site plan approval from planning board and if conditions change regarding living arrangements. Chairman Rettle discussed the ongoing swimming pool application for the Yadgard residents at 610 Stanford Road. The board discussed criteria. Should pool have been moved to a different area? Does pool have adverse effect on neighborhood for each variance request? So, Chairman Rettle made a motion to declare said application a type 2 action under SECRA. Mr. Kunkel made a second motion. All were in favor. Motion passed. I'm just going to go down the list of the motions because it just gets. Chairman Rettle made a motion to award a 35-foot rear yard setback variance, that motion was approved. Chairman Rettle made a motion to award a 9.2 foot side yard setback variance. That motion was approved. That, all was not in favor, however, but it carried 4-1. Chairman Rettle made a motion to award a variance for a lot coverage increase of 2.6%. All were in favor and that motion passed. Mr. Burnett discussed applicant paying appropriate fees within a time period. Chairman Rettle made the following motion to place the following conditions that must be met by the applicant prior to permit being awarded. Site plan approval by the planning board, as well as fees to be paid within 30 days. Second motion was made. All were in favor. The motion passed. The meeting adjourned at 7:33. The next meeting is April 15th. So,
Busy, huh?
yeah, so the Yadgard application, which was approved, the variances, so there is possibly dispute of the fees by the Yadgard that is owed to the town. Should we discuss that with you or should we discuss that with Kyle? Kyle, yeah, okay, all right,
Thanks,
good
Jeff.
enough.
Thank you.
Enough.
Okay. Well, that gets us through the,
And I just, you did mention the New York class.
class.
We have not voted to participate with that program yet, because we didn't put in an application. Due to the volatility of the market currently, should we delay placing that application until the market becomes a little bit more stable? If we had approved it last month and had submitted our dollars would have been impacted by the volatility that occurred over the last 2 weeks. The market lost 7-8%. And even though during the presentation, we questioned, are these funds protected like a FDIC protection? They are protected to the point, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if something was to happen, you have a right to petition to find out what happened and perhaps get some repayment of losses. But it doesn't prevent you from losing dollars. So that fund that all of our communities participated in last week lost substantial amount of money in that pooled income fund because it went down 7%. Well, he had claimed that it was making 4.29, I think, when he was here. I think it dropped almost to 3.8. So there would have been a loss. So if we had given him $1,000,
There wouldn't have been a loss. There would have been less gains.
less gain, yeah.
Okay, so
Less gains.
let's
That's more
review.
than what we're getting now.
All right, yeah, let's
Yeah.
review.
So are we jeopardizing monies
Yeah.
by putting it in during this volatile time, or should we wait until the market kind of stables out and all the consultants and the talking heads say the market seems to now be level again and it's appropriate to start making, because even personal fund advisors are saying, don't panic.
Yeah,
Okay, let's review. If we put in, for the sake of argument, a principal of $10,000, and we are told that we are going to get 4.29%, whatever, then drops down to 3-point-something%. Does the principal remain intact and we are just not gaining as much interest?
Correct.
So therefore, our money is still secure. We are making money, but we're not making as much money.
Correct. And
But we're still making more than where it's at right now.
But we're
Right.
still making more where it's at right
And-
now.
that's
you
right.
asked the question of what that pool, that New York class is invested in, and he claimed, well, he made the statement that it's mostly bonds,
Mostly that.
and the bond market got clouded.
Mhm.
So do we want to go ahead and move the money now, or do we want to wait till a little bit more stability? Even though you're gaining something more than you're gaining now, is there any risks that we would incur if we put the money in now with the volatility of the market right now?
Well, if it goes back down to below 0.01% that we're making at the bank,
Well, we can get out
You know what I
of it
mean?
anytime. We can get out of it anytime.
But, and I hate to say it that way, but I'm just
Right.
obviously exaggerating, but,
But
you know,
if
just.
when the
to show
market
you
goes
that-
up 3,000 points in 2.5 hours and then it
Yeah.
drops.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they're
Gotta
not
be careful.
invested in that kind
They're
of
in the-
stuff that's
What
as volatile.
what
Right.
stimulated them to put a hold on the tariffs was the bond market was getting killed.
Mhm. Mhm.
So-
Oh, there's a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
I won't begin to tell you
No,
my
but
personal
everybody,
loss,
oh yeah.
you know,
But
uh,
is that the kind of move we want to make now, or do we want to just sit, be comfortable for a while until all this thing fleshes out?
well, I don't, I know, I realize your concerns, but at the same time, like, our principal is guaranteed, right? Like,
That was my understanding. I thought that was his whole pitch.
you know, that's, you know, if that's the case, then yes, I'm willing to move it.
yeah. You can find that out for us, Lois?
If it's not the case, then maybe we sit.
If it's not, then, you know, but
Right.
that's my understanding that,
So
How would
conceptually,
they allow it? I mean, just talking from my knowledge about markets or whatever. How would they allow you to invest in something that could, like, you lose the taxpayers' money?
Any investment,
Yeah.
is
It kind of doesn't make sense, but I don't know.
any investment is a risk. You're taking a risk every time, but the way the market that I've been seeing and speaking to my own people is so volatile now that people are just basically sitting on cash and waiting.
yeah. It'd be interesting to hear his response to that.
Yeah, if he comes back and says, even though we dropped down to 3 point something, you're still making,
Right.
as Doug said, you're still making more than you're making now.
Right.
Then I would be comfortable going ahead and do it.
0.01%.
If he is anticipating, because you don't know how their board is reacting to all of this volatility too.
Okay,
So conceptually, do we have to say, go ahead with the application?
That's what can we have a
well, yeah, like, a-
contingent motion?
Wait on it
that-
and just let me
Or
know
we
if
can
you
do a
wanna
contingent
find out.
motion so that midweek, you don't have to wait for another board meeting. If he
Right.
says, go ahead and do it.
yeah,
Because
why don't we
we have
do that?
confirmation that the principal is guaranteed.
and
Right.
guarantee.
yes,
So somebody want to make
I'll
that,
make that motion.
I'll second it.
okay? Thanks, Bob. In favor, all in favor?
All right.
Okay.
Aye.
Right. Okay, so, that's the meeting. We have an issue, a personnel issue we need to talk about. What's that?
Me.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks, Danielle.
When we left the meeting last time, this is about the increase from the cable company again.
Yeah.
Now, I can negotiate my own boss, certainly volunteer to help me, that's not the question. The question is, this affects a lot of people in the town, not just one person. Joe is gonna look into it a little bit. The question is, does the cable company have any agencies that they have to go through? Like if you go to Central Hudson for electric, they have to be approved before they can raise their rates as agencies. I looked on the internet, it was very hard to decipher for me, and Joe was going to take a closer look at this. Does the cable company have any restrictions on any place that it has to go to get approval to raise their rates at all?
They do, but it's pretty limited. It's a much more open market than what you think of as utilities. But they do. But that range is high, and it also has to do with availability. As we said last time, part of the issue is who can service you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the market still kind of dictates, unfortunately, what services they provide and what they can charge for them within a certain range. So it's not, I don't know, I don't have a great answer.
It's market
for
driven.
it. Yeah,
If there were 3 companies in our community and you were paying a high rate with them and there was enough backlash on that, you have the option to go to another company who might have a cheaper rate. But because of where we're located and because of the density of our population, other cable companies are reluctant to come into this area because they're not going to make any money
I
here.
understand that, that's true.
So if you go down to Fishkill, You might have Verizon, Optimum, who knows, there might be 3 or 4 in that community. Whereas here, we're basically
Yeah.
held by one,
Yeah. It's a
technically.
monopoly.
So unless you negotiated when they first came in, and we didn't, I was at the meeting, and saying that you can do X, Y, Z, and there's a fee that you have to pay the village, a town rather. You're saying that there's nothing that we can really do about this now, because
There's
after
not,
the fact?
right. And frankly, even if you were to start from scratch with a negotiation, you'd still be left with the prospect that you don't have to pay what you don't want to pay, but then you don't have service. So it's a, you know, it's an imperfect, balance, but it is, you know, they're kind of the game in town here.
If I recall, when they came in, they also kind of cushioned the influence on the town by talking about doing some extra work up the high school with antennas and all of that communication and
Right.
opening it up to them. So that was a kind of a selling point also for them to come into the town. Because at one time, we didn't have really good service, and even now we have black spots throughout the town that they get no service. So I had suggested to you, because you're not the only one that's concerned about these rates, particularly on senior citizens, give the Better Business Bureau a call, and maybe they can steer you. It's a lobby fight, and the corporations have the better lobbyists.
Authority, they gave them an F rating. They're part of Altus is the company that they're part of.
Yeah.
They just said F, and we have no authority that'll answer any requests.
Yeah.
Some of the companies now are even getting beyond the kind of service we have here. They're going to fiber optic. We're years from having fiber optic out here because of the number of households that would make use of it. So unfortunately,
As a
Howard,
lawyer, I had trouble going through all these various regulations.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy even for somebody who's trained to look for this stuff. It's a morass. It really is. But I think the bottom line is it's not a terribly fruitful endeavor. I wish I had something better to tell you. And by the way, personally, I'm affected. I can't stand them. I have the same problem, and I'm in a somewhat more dense population area.
and it's not like radio and TV that has to go before the feds.
Right.
With the FCC and all of that. They're basically independent people, and they depend on, basically, if you want the service, you gotta pay for it.
So the answer is, if this comes up again, I think they have to renew with you guys. I'm not sure what the outnumber is. I'm gonna say maybe in 5 years, they have to come back or something and renew with you. Another meeting that they had.
Yeah, that'd be an opportunity to at least discuss it and or discuss the quality of service
Right.
as well.
And I think that was the last meeting, was the quality of service, where they come in and they said, we're gonna be putting boosters here and whatever. We had people in the audience saying, look, my thing goes down every night and I have to reboot and all that kind of stuff. That was the big part of that conversation. But as far as rates, locally, the guy that was gonna come in and talk to us is dependent on the guy in Albany, who's his boss, who's dependent on the guy in New York City, who's his boss, who's dependent on the guy who lives wherever that is the chairman of Optimum.
Well, without getting into a lot of details, I don't have a lot of detail. I did look at several other towns, and some of the contracts did have a clause where they have to pay X amount of money up front to the town. Make up the number of $5,000 a year, which is probably not the right number, but it was in their contracts. And the contracts had numbers, just like our contracts have numbers. And so that was something. The other option is the Bob Oya option, of course. Just drop them, keep the internet or something, and stream.
Yeah, I just dropped it.
For TV, people are doing that.
Yeah, I use Hulu for TV. And
Drop them completely and go to satellite internet.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but they will negotiate, because I did a little bit more research and I wanted to do on that, and they will negotiate. But I'm looking at, not for me, or Bob was a good researcher and negotiator, I'm looking at what's gonna happen at this point. We have no control, I'm hearing, about the rates. And the only thing we can do is wait till this time they come around
to ask again and see if we can negotiate something for people. A small down payment or something back to the town that we could use to help lower taxes.
Well, that's what that was when they negotiated not giving the town cash, but putting the equipment and stuff to help the high school. That was $1 equivalent.
Did that help the taxpayer or does it just help us?
Well, it helped the school, but indirectly, they claimed it helped,
It helped the
it helped the school district, and it helped the taxpayer that's paying the school tax.
Yeah.
So that's how they
All right,
negotiated.
so I guess there's nothing more to say really. Going
Yeah.
around in a circle at this point, and we're kind of stuck with what is.
Plus, Howard, not that it's gonna be in my lifetime or your lifetime, but technology's changing so rapidly in that field. Who knows what communication is gonna be like?
And they're chasing their own tail too. I know that this conversation, because this is what I do, I sit at a lot of this board. This conversation has come up about Optimum and other providers all over the place.
Mhm.
They are scrambling too. They know that they have a dinosaur problem right now. And so they may listen, even though we don't have great leverage, when it comes around again, they may listen. They're losing customers.
I guess
So-
aside from individuals, not like me or Bob or somebody, any of you negotiating your own deal with them, I guess that's all that's left.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
All right.
Howard, yeah, hey, Howard, if you speak to them and you tell them that you're gonna, drop their cable for your TVs, they'll negotiate with you to keep it and maybe get you to a point that you like, or you can go to streaming. I went to Fubo and, take a couple minutes to log on, but I'm not missing anything on TV. So it's just, the internet's the internet,
Yeah.
but they'll negotiate if you tell them you're going to pull the plug, they'll negotiate with you. There's no doubt about it. And you might go, you could go in person and, get your TV, your box. If you have one box or two boxes, unplug them and bring them down to Wappingers or wherever their Optimum office is. You walk in there with those in your hand and right away they're going to say, oh, you got to speak to this one or you got to speak to that one. We want to keep you, So you got to get a little tough love.
I did a little bit of work with them. Got it.
All right.
Okay.
That's
86 it.
my problem. All right, let me get out of here. I'm with you guys.
Bob, are you gonna call in for
Yeah.
executive? We have to shut Zoom down.
Yes, I'll
Okay.
call Gary's phone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Bob.
Yeah, motion to go into executive session.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
We're okay. I mean, we don't